Right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. It's nice to see so many people. A few people who I haven't seen for a long, long while. Me? That was Walter I was talking about. Couple of things before we start. Next Tuesday is club night here. We're going to have a catch up on what everybody's been up to, where everybody's been competing and what have you, because we haven't had that for a while. We've got a few very good speakers coming up, and we're just trying to get dates confirmed, but we've got a well-known local name from Rallycross, a guy who I met probably about 20 years ago competing against him in a 1300 Escort, Tony Lynch, who's got some fantastic stories to tell every time I see him, so I'm sure it'll be very interesting. Hopefully we've managed to track Gordon Birtwistle down to come and talk about suspension. For those who don't know who Gordon is, that's ProFlex UK. And Maurice, remind me, who else have we got? I know there's somebody else.
Can't remember.
No, neither. Anyway, if you're not getting your emails, see Steve, and likewise if you're not on the Facebook page, see Heidi, and we'll make sure you're up to date. So, I'd like to welcome tonight a member from a long while ago, fairly successful chap in his own right, and fairly successful in his motorsport as well. Would you welcome John Stone? So John, I was trying to remember earlier today how long ago it was that you first started coming here.
Probably early 2000s, I think, something like that.
Was it so set? I think it seemed longer ago than that, but
no, it was about 2000. I don't, I look young for my age. But no, about 2000, I think, when I was I sort of taken a break from rallying and then got back into it with a Peugeot, and and started coming in.
So you'd taken a break from it? You did some before then?
I'd done a few events and realised that I couldn't afford it, really, to be honest. So,
like most of us.
Yeah. So it was one of the catalysts of starting the business, to make some money and have a do at rallying, really.
So I suppose since you've just mentioned it, we'll talk about the business first. So I know you're obviously well known for Legend Fires, but where did all that come from?
Well, I served my time as a maintenance fitter at Prestige, and sort of went through the ranks. Prestige was going through a bit of a restructuring and what have you. We had a factory at Burnley, one at Blackburn and one at Derby, and it was at the time of all this big industrial change and what have you, and I was the blue-eyed boy, to be honest. I was managing Blackburn factory by 23, and got a bit brassed off with it and went to work for a guy making gas fires, and got interviewed by his accountants, and they all said, he's a real family man. He doesn't spend his money on flash cars or big houses or anything like that. So I thought, well, that sounds all right. I'll go along. So I went along, and the day I started, a brand new Porsche 911 turned up, and he'd just bought this massive house in Langno. And I thought, hey, there's a bit of money to be made in this gas fire lot, So eventually I worked for him for 8 years and set up on my own, and went through some pretty hair-raising times. It was very tough to start with. It was all self-funded, and we just struck on one particular design at the time, which was like a contemporary fire, and we sold thousands of them, absolutely thousands of them, and the accountant said, "Oh, you're doing well." So I went out and bought a rally car.
And that was the end of making money.
That.
Fantastic. So I think I'm right in saying, was it a 205, the first car?
It was the most unreliable 205 ever made. We did a few rallies with it. It was a nice little car, and but we used to get the lads at ProTech in Preston to look after it, and they had a 106 Cup car come up for sale, and we bought that and had a really successful couple of seasons with that, and the business was going from strength to strength. Then we were making some serious money then, and we'd had a breakdown and had a Binbrook, and we sort of, you know, when you break down, you sort of start watching and what have you. And Tony Giannetti came past in this Metro 604, and I just gobsmacked, and it came past at about 10,500 revs, and I sort of went, I want one of them. So that sort of did a bit of digging and what have you, and I contacted Tony, and I said, look, I'm looking at this one up in Scotland. It's a forest car. It looks really nice. And he said, whatever you do, don't buy it. So of course I went up with my checkbook, I bought it. So we got it back, and we did a rally in Wales at an airfield. I think they've only ever used it once, and we never tried the thing on the road, and we just went off and just laughed all the way around. It was just ridiculous. I mean, just, you know, from going from a 106 Cup car with about 160 horsepower to this thing at about 270, you know, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. But it didn't last long. It was about 3 stages, and the engine dropped to a valve or something, you know. So and then I bought another one while the other one was being repaired, and rolled that. And then Tony Giannetti said, I'm actually selling my white one, and we did a deal, a private deal. He didn't want to put it up for sale, and we had an absolutely fantastic time with that car. That was a superb car, really, really good car.
And I suppose that probably brought you your first biggest successes, didn't it?
Well, we actually won our first event in the original one, the Forest car. We went to Havering, and it was chucking it down, and it was, you know, Havering hadn't been used for years, and we were lucky. We had some old Forest tyres in the back of the van and bolted them on, and we were lucky enough to win. And somebody once said that once you've won one trophy, it gets a bit easier, and certainly when we won that first one, we were virtually turning up on every rally and winning it then, especially with a white car. It was some too, you know. It's fabulous to drive, and you know, you'd sort of get in it and feel at one with it straight away. You know, you wanted it to turn, and it turned in, and we could do anything to the suspension setting and just have it just perfect. Really, it was really, really good.
So you've got a car you've got 3 cars that are all doing really well. Well, in various states of being doing well. What made you change?
Well, you got to a point where it got a bit boring in turning up on single venues, because you win. Yeah. And we wanted to sort of move on and progress to the national championship where all the big lads were, and John Price was and always will be my hero. You know, I mean, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, but when you compete against John in a 604, you've just got to take your hat off to the bloke. He's absolutely awesome competitor, especially with his wife in with him and shouting at him and you know, telling him that I'm not worthy of beating him and all this sort of thing. He was a great competitor. Still keep in touch with him now, and we wanted to sort of achieve what he did, you know, and we were never going to do that, but we wanted to do it. So we competed with him. He was really helpful with setup and everything like that, and we started on the national rounds, and as time progressed, you could see that the world cars were coming through, and they just got faster and faster and faster. The Metro in a straight line was as fast as, it's probably about an S9 Subaru, which was about 2003, 2004, something like that. But after that, they're just so much faster. So we ended up buying a an S9 Subaru, which was a lovely car. I only used it once, but I just didn't feel right, you know. So I got the chance to go over to Holland and buy a Skoda. Always fancied something a little bit different, so did a deal on Eric Weaver's Skoda.
Yeah. So that was a world car or an S2000?
It was a world car, yeah. 2005.
So then you're all of a sudden into a completely different league of car, really.
Well, you're into a different financial league, unfortunately. It means that you can't look after the car yourself. It's all computers and diff settings and that sort of thing. And it was all exciting at first. It was great, you know. You got this world car and it would do all these things for you, but it would only do them if somebody typed the thing in, you know. And you'd come off a stage and they'd say, "Oh, you've lifted." I bloody didn't. But they know, you know, they know everything about the car. They know how much brake pressure you're putting on and everything like that. So it's a different mentality. It's an active car. So in the wet, it would sort itself out fairly well. But not one that you could feel comfortable with. You know, a natural sort of. It's not a natural driving style. It's either full throttle or full brake. You know, it's either or. I had Mark Higgins give me a bit of tuition, and that was an eye-opener. He got me left foot braking, and we got faster after that. You know, it's we rolled it, we put it off a few times, but we eventually sort of built up a fairly decent speed with it, I think.
Well, I think I'm right in saying you won a couple of.
Yeah, we won a couple of, mainly on Otterburn.
Did you win one in the Alabama as well?
No, we were second on the local one. But yeah, we won a national round on Otterburn. And we culminated with that car in, always wanted to win the championship, but you would need a significant budget to win it. You know, people talk about money in motorsport, but I'm going to shock you now, but to run a world car, anything over 2005, is probably about £15,000 an event, which is obscene, really. But that's the sort of thing that people are spending on those sort of cars, and if they don't spend them, they don't finish. So it gets a bit out of hand. But we were lucky enough to get second in 2014 in the championship, and I felt that's as much as we were going to achieve with that car over here. So we then went to Ireland.
Completely different culture.
Massive, absolutely massive. Yeah. I mean, some brilliant characters. Anybody that hasn't done a rally in Ireland, you know, if you possibly can, I would definitely get you to do it. It's absolutely superb. They treat you like a superstar, you know, whether you've got a 106 Cup car or a world car, you know, they absolutely love you over there. It's my favourite place to rally. Fantastic.
Okay. But you still have a Peugeot, isn't it? Is it 206?
Yeah, my son has Down syndrome, and I always wanted to take him out in a car, and the sort of physical properties of people with Downs is that they've got very weak necks, so there was never a chance I could take him out in a fast car. So I bought a right old knacker of a 206 really, and we've had some great fun. In fact, probably more fun in that than the world car with him. Just doing Three Sisters, we tend to sneak through the NSA's licensing laws a little bit, but they've been very good. They always put a spotter on the car so that if I rolled it or anything, they would be with us fairly sharpish. But he's really enjoyed it.
I think I'm right in saying you have rolled that car a time or two, haven't you?
I've rolled it a few times. Well, while I had it for Alex to do the rallies at Three Sisters, we've sort of put it into gravel spec, and we've been having a great laugh doing that.
So So do you not fancy doing a proper car on the
Yeah,
gravel?
well, the car I've got now, I'm really excited about. I think it's absolutely superb. I mean, it's basically a Super 2000 Fiesta, and we take the 2 litre engine out, and we've got a 2.5 litre Millington engine in it, and it feels fantastic to drive. I mean, it's an absolutely brilliant laugh, so drivable. I've only used it 3 times, but it's superb, and I think we're gonna put that in the woods.
So you're deserting tarmac?
No, not really. I think we're going to do a bit of both. I think it was a gravel car from South Africa, so we've got all the gravel stuff with it. Still, like we want to do next year, we're going to build up to do the Donegal International Rally. That's our big sort of aim. I've just been over there a few weeks ago to drive some of the stages, and yeah, really good. We're going to look forward to that. We'll just have a laugh rather than be competitive, I think. It is, yeah. I mean, Roger did all the engineering on it really, and then got frustrated with it really. There's 1 or 2 things he's sort of had a thought on, and it's sort of gone the wrong way really. It'd be interesting to see Callum Duffy. Callum Duffy's just doing the same thing with a Fabia, and I was chatting to Callum a few weeks ago, and he's gearing it for 120, 125, 128 mile an hour and something like that. But I've told him it will not pull that speed. But he said, no, you've got to have 125 mile an hour on mull. Yeah, all right. You go on, you can fill your boots, you know. But no, certainly our car when we got it was geared too high. It will not pull it. So we geared it down to about 108, and it just feels right now. Whether it's long enough for, we're doing a rally in an island this weekend, and then the Manx National in a couple of weeks' time. So whether we'll sort of suffer for that, I don't know, but we'll see. Bit of a learning few months for us. So last year, I think you had a bit of a foray into the GT cars. What was your? Well, I'd sold the Skoda, and I wanted to do something in-house. So we could look after it ourselves. And I'm a Porsche fanatic anyway, and I'd always been in touch with the lads at Tuthill Porsche, and they said, look, hire it for an event, you'll love it, you know. So in the hire deal, we got a test day and what have you, and they're a brilliant set of people, the Tuthill Porsche. Obviously they specialise in historic Porsches and things like that, but they come up with this idea of this RGT car, and the guy that runs it now, it used to be Francis Tuthill many years ago, and now it's his son Richard, and Richard's an absolutely brilliant bloke, really enthusiastic, loves anything Porsche and whatever, and I turned up at this test venue and sort of got buckled in, and he took me around, and then he sounded fantastic, and he jumped in and he said, now I'll just tell you something, when you go around the corner you just got to wait for it. I said, well, what do you mean wait for it? He said, well, Francois set this up, Francois Delco. And so we go off and I just trundle around for a bit, and then sort of start giving it a little bit, and it understeered like you've never seen or felt before. I think Francois likes the handbrake thing, you know. I think he's big on the handbrake. So we sorted that out a little bit, but it was still geared for some warp speed, you know. It was ridiculous, really. But we did the promenade stages in it, and we had a good time. We ate a few things and whatever. We eventually finished, but I thought it wasn't for me really. It was a bit heavy. I think they said it was about 1250, but I reckon it was about 1400 kilos. You could feel it on the brakes and whatever. But interestingly enough, Richard rang me last week. They've just sold that car, and they're talking about doing a similar project with a GT4 car, which is a bit lighter, same engine. So that could be quite interesting.
But will it be significantly lighter? Because 1400 kilos.
Yeah, I think it'll be a couple of 100 kilos lighter from what he said.
Would make a big difference, that wouldn't it? Still all the weight at the back though.
Yeah, that wasn't a problem. It was the understeer that was the problem.
But that's part of having the
yeah,
weight at the back, isn't
maybe.
it?
But I expected to get in, and you know, the road cars I'd driven were a bit sort of tail happy, you know. So, but no, I think the GT4 will be interesting.
So you could still see yourself maybe going to the GT car, to the Porsche.
I don't know. I really like the Fiesta. I think it's it really is something else. The chassis and everything. It's you know, it's exactly what you expect. It, you know, when it turns in beautifully, and it's, you know, it tells you what it's going to do, which is great. The Skoda never did that.
So this Fiesta you've got now, this is a bit different to the one you used last year?
Yeah, we hired a bit of a hybrid thing off M Sport. They were trying to sell cars. They invited me up to a day testing, and they're very slick at what they do at M Sport, as you all know. So Malcolm's right hand man is a guy called John Steele, and he's got a fearsome reputation as a businessman. And I went up and met him, and he seemed a great bloke. You know, he seemed fine. And this car turned up, and it was an R5 car, but with a 2-litre engine and a bigger turbo. So he said, right, off you go, you know, take it out. And it was absolutely fabulous, you know, it was really, really good. And he could see me beaming, you know, sort of, and he said, if you hang around, we've got a brand new R5 car standard, and I think there's a world car coming as well. And I said, I don't really want to get in the world car, I can't afford one, you know. And he said, oh, go on, have a do. So I got in this thing, and I'll tell you what, I have never been in any car as fast as a Fiesta World Rally car. Anybody that's not cleaning up and hitting with a Fiesta World Rally car, there's something wrong with them. It is an absolutely incredible experience. So of course I asked him the price, and he said, well, this one's £450,000 plus VAT with 4 wheels. So I politely declined. But I hired the R5 2-litre off him, and of course we went to the Isle of Man. It'd been sunny for months, and as soon as we turned up on the Isle of Man, it absolutely lashed it down, and I ended up nearly destroying it, but they were very kind on the repair bill. Sort of.
I saw the pictures, they needed to be.
Yeah.
You have to insure it, Paddy, John.
Well, this was the problem really, because they value the car at £200,000 plus VAT. So whenever you sort of speak to RAIS or whatever, they said, right, we'll cover that value, but you pay the first 50, and it's going to be 12,000 quid. You know, so it's not worth it. So I insured it for fire because of the turbo and all that sort of thing, but. It's that horrible moment when you're sort of in, it was 5-speed, and this was in 5th gear, and the back just got away down a little single track thing, and you're spinning down, and your co-driver, who's been in some big accidents before, going, oh shit! Like this. And you're going like this down this road, and then you see a wheel come off, and then a strut comes out the other side, and you think, this is gonna hurt. I got out of the car, and I rang the wife up, and I said, I think we'll have to sell the McLaren. And she's going, oh God, are you alright, you know, but it wasn't bad. Everything was sort of modular, and the lads had brought a load of spurs, and they bolted everything on, drove it back on the trailer, but I'd said to Buckley's, who were running the car, you know, what's the best thing, you know, to repair it? He said, well, we'll jump on it and repair it and take it back later in the week, but Monday morning John Steele's on the phone asking it for it to go back, and Neil Buckley took it back, opened the trailer, and who should walk past was Malcolm. So I was dreading the bill, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, to be fair. But I definitely thought the Fiesta was the way to go. I'm sort of a bit against turbos, so I've gone this Super 2000 way, just to keep it all in-house.
Good. So where do we go from there? So what's your plan for this year then? Obviously, you say you've got Ireland and the Manx. Where would you go after that? You're not chasing a championship or anything like that?
I do feel sorry about the national championship, because it's it's sort of died a death a little bit really, and there's some really great characters in that. When I first started doing the national championship, it was Steve Fleck, Tony Davis, John Price, Steve Hendy, some real characters, and we've still got those characters now, John Indry, Damien Cole, Steve Simpson, they're all characters in their own right, and it's just a shame that it's not publicised as much as it should, because they're all fast drivers, they're reasonably friendly. It looks outwardly looking in, it looks a bit like a load of trouble, but reasonably friendly, and the characters, and it's just a shame that it's not well promoted. If it was a bit better promoted, I think we'd get more people doing it.
So you think really it's a big promotion issue that they've got?
I think so, and the fact that we haven't got closed roads. I think when we get closed roads, I think if we get closed roads, I think that'll help a bit.
It's no, joking apart, the legislation's there. It's just the writing of the of the bills that needs
I think that'll help. But when you go to Ireland, there's it's just so much better. You go over a start ramp, everybody goes over the finish ramp, and there's dancing girls and all sorts. It's absolutely superb. And what we tend to do is we fly over on the Friday night, and all the lads are stopping in one hotel, and I've seen them carrying drivers out on Friday night because they're that legless, and they all get up for the recce the day after, and then the rally's on Sunday, and you can be home for midnight Sunday night, so you're back in work Monday. So it's a convenient way of going rally. It's not days and days away. It's 2 nights tops. So a good way of going rally, and they're so friendly as well. Very friendly.
With North West stages, John, do you think that's the way they're going to end up going if the closed roads come off?
Well, we've actually done a presentation to all the councils involved already. All the police forces that we have 3 stages ready to go. Can't tell you that. But it was quite funny actually, because when they were doing the presentation, they got the map out on this big board, and one of the police officers that were attending the meeting lived on the stage, and they were sort of, oh my God, But once we told them what would happen and how it would happen, they were quite responsive to it. All the councils are really responsive to anything that the organisers do. They're very on side, because it's a massive revenue for the town coming in. You can see it, so that's the ultimate ambition, and that's why we've remained sponsors, to try and achieve that. I think with the latest changes in safety and things like that, it is telling on the organisers. I do worry that the organising team that we have now, will stay together. It's quite, as anybody who've organised rally will know, it's stressful, and to put a closed road on them as well would be some achievement. Yeah.
How long are those 3 stages?
There's a 12 miler and 2 8s, and the idea would be to mix those in with like the prom and maybe wheat, something like that. Yeah.
On this side of the A6.
Not to be too specific.
And the map references.
Well, a lot of people don't know that the Blackpool Council and Fylde Council, they cover quite a big area.
So that's 28 miles then?
Yeah, but used a few times. So
the mileage would the mileage increase?
It would.
Up to like 100 miles?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, the Irish. To me, the Irish setup for a national rally is perfect, because it's 3 stages, 3 times, about 90 miles, similar road mileage as well. And it's, you know, the marshals are on the stage all day. They never have any problem with marshals or anything like that. It's all ready to go, and it's a good format. And it's one for, you know, I think hopefully the Jim Clark will come back as a closed road event.
Yeah.
That's the way, in my opinion, they should go. 3 stages, 3 times.
Just think that long before I get my bus pass, or what?
Well, I hope so. I think it'll be a few years yet. But,
Does that mean Dave Reed would be paid like also?
I don't know.
Taking over a lot of organisations.
They would. I mean, it's more or less a full-time job now. I mean, they have it off to a fine. You know, I've been to a few meetings, and it's a massive undertaking. You know, just closing the footpaths on Fleetwood Prom is a massive thing. The Fleetwood Council now know about it, so it's not as bad as it was, but it's just such a massive thing to get done on time, you know.
Is that just Blackpool Borough and Wyre Borough then? Or
There's 3 councils involved,
well?
yeah.
The three councils in the file?
Yeah. So, I mean, it'd be great if we could get closed roads. It would be a fabulous thing, I think, because you know, certainly there's the experience on the organising team. I think Pat Marchbank has been drafted in this last year, and she is absolutely fierce at organising. You know, I would not want to cross her.
She had to be to organise under for all these years.
Yeah. But they're a good bunch.
So, I think probably of all the local rallies, the North West Stages has probably got the most endurance element of it. To me, rallying's always been a balance of speed and endurance. It seems to be going a lot more speed and less endurance now. How do you feel that should go?
Well, to be honest, I've always we've won it once when we first started sponsor. I think they must have fixed it so that we'd keep interested, you know. But no, if you want to win that event, you've got to go at it. You can't sort of bide your time or anything like that. You've got to be to win any of these sort of bigger events. I think you've got to be on it right from word go. There's no way you can sneak up past the likes of Damien Cole or Steve Simpson or anything like that. You've got to be on it right from word go. And Simon Bowen, who won it this year, you know, he had a bit of a rubbish night on the Friday night, but it was only a bit of mileage Friday night, so he knew he was confident that he could go, and he went at it fairly hard on Saturday all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't think there's any room for endurance in rallying now? It's all about.
Well, I think. I mean, we've just done a couple of forest rallies, and the idea was to finish them. You know, we've done the Cambrian, and we tried that 3 times and failed. So the 4th time, it was just a matter of, I mean, literally just driving around like Miss Daisy, you know, just to get round. So, you know, there is that element. It depends what you do rallying for. If you're super competitive and you want to win, well, you just got to go at it. If you don't mind, you know, you can still have a decent result, but if you want to win, you've got to go at it.
But do you not think that sort of over the years of keep doing those forests, like the Cambrian for example, you get to know, you know, you build up experience of the forest, just like they're having to do in the World Championship, building up experience of the stages, and then ultimately being able to go faster once they've built that experience.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument for both. I think you know, if you look at Steve Simpson, when he went into the National Tarmac Championship, he went in the opposite way to what that I did. I wanted to sort of try and put a marker down and crashed a lot. And Steve just trundled round, and then eventually won the National Championship. So, you know, maybe he was right and I was wrong.
I've got to say, I remember the first year that Steve came over to the Isle of Man, and it was probably one of his first closed road events. And for some reason, John Cope had put him in touch with us to to show him where to go with the recce and what have you. And we did our 2 or 3 stages, 2 or 3 times round every stage, didn't we? And then we kept seeing Steve going round and round and round and round. But he did put the effort in, and he really put the time in, and then he went at the event sensibly.
Sensibly, yeah.
Right, he's got it now though, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah.
And I think he's done the same way in the forest rallies as well.
He has. He's sort of slowly building up, and I think he needs a quicker car. It wouldn't surprise me seeing him winning BTRDA eventually.
But to be fair, he doesn't crash that often, does he?
He doesn't. No, he's very. Well, I call him lucky bollocks.
Right, shall we have a 15-minute beer break, and then if you can think of questions, and we'll come back. Right, so you've all had 15 minutes to think about your questions. Who's going to go first? Go on, Heidi.
How did you originally get into motorsport? Obviously you said you got a car and you've been to the pub, but what was your real interest and where did it come from to develop to, you know?
I had an uncle who was big into stock cars, Nelson and Colm and Bellevue at Manchester, and we used to go and help him look at. I mean, this is years ago, you know, so 8, 9, 10-year-old, and they eventually went into two uncles, and I still remember the numbers that they had, because they all carried the same numbers there, 346 and 358 they were, and we used to go all over with them, and if I'm completely honest, my uncle won a race, and he had this dolly bird sat on top of his car with him, going round in a lap of honour, you know, and I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. But I mean, when I stopped rallying and went working for this guy making fires, my brother-in-law was into stock car racing. He said, I fancy making a car, you know, and having a go, you know. So I built it with him, and he had a great time. So we both built 2 cars and went off to Bolton, I think it was, and had a good time. And that just triggered something again. And I thought, I've got to get back into motorsport. You know, it's passion, isn't it? You know, so that's where it originally came from, really.
So do you not really want to go into the stock cars then? Because you actually get paid, don't you, for
Well, the thing we did was when we had to do was this formula. It was like a stock formula, so you couldn't do anything other than take bits out and put the radiator back and all this sort of. And it was supposed to be non-contact, but I'd still got my overalls from when I was rallying, so I turned up like a big ponce in overalls, and all these lads there smoking weed and all sorts of stuff, and they're all going like that to me, you know? And within 3 laps they had me off, and the car was about 4 foot shorter than when it started, you know. So, that's the original thing, was watching my uncles in stock car racing.
Well, I say at least you've got to go on the stock car.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's great. All different forms of motorsport. They're great, aren't they? You know, I mean, it's just. I think rallying's special, though, isn't it? You know, the sort of camaraderie of it all, and the challenge of getting the car around and all that sort of thing. You know, I think some of these racing boys, you know, I mean, you know, it must be so boring turning up and doing what they do. You know, I mean, it's such a challenge, isn't it, rallying? So I'm glad I'm into that. I was just saying to Martin, I walk the dog every night, and one of the lads up on the corner of where I live, and he's big into his jogging and running and all this sort of thing, and he's just bought a new camper van, you know. He's got this little camper van there, and he said, "Oh, what are you up to this week?" And I didn't like sort of saying, you know, I'm off to Ireland rallying this 300 horsepower 4-wheel drive Fiesta, and he says, "I'm taking this little beauty out, it's really exciting." you don't know anything, you know?
Terry.
John, before you sponsored the Legend and Fires North West Stages, you sponsored Garstang's Road Rally for a couple of years. One of those, I didn't actually win it.
Terry did win a road rally once.
Yeah. But I remember you went out to watch a road rally the following year, I think it was the Whichway Rally, and
No, it was actually the rally that we sponsored, the Memorial Rally.
was it?
But unfortunately, the Thursday before the Saturday, I'd just had a vasectomy. So they said, put your feet up on Friday, you'll be alright going out, because we manned a couple of controls as well, and we went out and we sort of found out where this route was, round down to this hairpin, and me and Paul were there and stood behind this wall. The course opening transit came down and handbrake round this hairpin. I thought, oh, fair play, these lads know what they're doing, you know. Anyway, the first car came down, handbrake round, perfect. Then coming wrong direction was this taxi with a load of pizzas in the back. Going up this thing, and then he just pulled in, and the next car came down. I'm going, oh Jesus Christ! I've got legend fires all over it. Every car, you know, this can't be right. So I'll admit it. I just lost my bottle on that. I sort of pulled out of that. I thought it was too dangerous.
Well, the actual road rally itself, and
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine, but I just thought the potential for an accident was just massive.
Check the statistics.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that. I did hear a story about you and doing 120 mile an hour in a Peugeot and all that sort of crossroad.
It was a story.
Yeah,
He was never doing that.
so do you think he's got a place in rallying?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Carl Williamson, who normally co-drives for me, is road rallying's biggest fan of me. He loves it. We did the Manx Rally last year with the Poker Stars, I think it was. We crashed. We were straight to the airport, straight back, straight down to North Wales to do a road rally. Proper, real enthusiast. He's just won one this weekend actually, whichever, I can't remember which one it was, but
He was second.
was he second? I think he thinks he won it.
So he'd run you up and told you then?
He did. He did. But I think definitely. I mean, again, before I started competing again, I used to go and watch. It was the back end of the motoring news days, and it was the last year actually of the big cars. Went out and watched that, Steve Hill and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so yeah, definitely. Obviously, we've got Ian Grimrod that works for us, and who tells me every other day how great road rallying is.
Have you ever done a road rally?
No.
Why
I don't honestly know. I mean, Carl's always asking me to do it. He organises one in South Wales, and he's always asking me to do it. But I don't know. I don't particularly enjoy driving at night. Maybe I should.
You've got a great co-driver who works for you, might be interested.
Well, he isn't. He would only do something that he fancies.
Which usually involves tobacco.
Yeah, which usually involves tobacco. I mean, I don't think anybody knows. He's just had an accident, as Ian. He was in the loft and he fell out and cracked all his ribs. And I said, look, take a few weeks off, just get sorted out and what have you. And we'd ring him up and say, have you ordered this or something like that. He'd never answer his phone, but we sent him a text saying, my sister's going to Spain, do you want any fags? He was straight on phone.
Going back to Guardian, have you never fancied a Darien?
I have. I very, very nearly put a deposit down for one late last year. But I have been keeping an eye on the car that I've got now, and that came up at the right time for the right money, so I went for that. But I do like I've always kept my eye on Darians, and I still remember getting the original photocopied brochure back early 2000s and thinking that they were a good car and what have you. Especially now with the raised roof, I think they're a real tool. That thing of Ashley Fields is just incredible. I mean, we merged in behind it on Croft earlier this year, and that's faster than a world car, a lot faster than a world car. brakes better as well, I would say. But again, you know, Ashley will have 130,000 quid in that all day long. But not the running costs, of course. But,
Johnny, when injuries you were thinking of buying, would it?
no, I was thinking of buying a new one.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, cracking car. Fancy having a crash in one, but you know, the ones that have had crashes in them have always, you know, got out.
Anybody else got a question?
Come on.
You were touching on the stage of the British Rally Championship earlier, plus also you were talking about the touch on Porsches, the popularity of historic rallying and Porsche. Do you ever consider something like that in the future?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think the thing is when you I mean, like the car that I have now, the chassis is fantastic. You know, you just sit in, and once you're off the line, you don't use the clutch. It's just pulled back to go faster and push to go slower. And it's they're exactly how you would expect a car to feel. You know, that's had all that money thrown at it. And I've driven Escorts and of various types, and they're great to drive, but ultimately they're not as fast as the modern cars. Great to watch, and you know, I love you know, when we've retired in Forest or something like that, and we always stand and watch the historic ones come through. Fabulous to see and hear. But whether I'd do a season, because there's some serious money being thrown at those now. You know. Yeah, I'll drive anything really. That 206, you know, you can have as much fun in that as anything. You know, it's just brilliant. It's a bit frustrating in the fact that you've no power. The brakes are rubbish. The handling's rubbish. But
It's French.
It's French. Yeah, you know, I mean, we borrowed a Formula 1000 car a few years ago, and we had an absolute great time in that. I mean, young Tommy, I've seen young Tommy drive, and I tell you, that lad's a quick lad. They're all quick lads actually in that Formula 1000 thing, but that was a good car to drive, that Formula 1000 thing. Nice handling, good brakes, obviously not as much run, but once you'd wound them up, it was good, you know.
I've got a question for you.
Right.
So over the years you've had a fair collection of co-drivers, some quite well known, some maybe not so well known. Who would you rate as the best? Or give us a top 5.
No, well, on single venues without hesitation, Lee Carter. The most obnoxious bloke in rally ever.
I can't believe it's that, really.
But Lee on a single venue was fabulous. He knew how to wind people up. He would know their time before they did. You know, he was fantastic. He wasn't great on pace notes by a long shot. But
can I add to that? He knew we were doing the field test on the Isle of Man before we did.
He did. He did. But
God knows how. But
he was great, and you would never meet a more competitive person than Lee. You know, I mean, he actually. The last rally he did was the rally on the Camry that we rolled, and he then had his licence taken off him actually. We'll not go into that. But in terms of overall co-drivers, Carl Williamson is absolutely incredible. He's a proper road rally. I mean, we've done rallies on maps, and the detail that he can get out of those maps is incredible. He's funny, he's great in the car. I've had some co-drivers where you've got no banter with them at all. But they're good in the car, but when you get on a long road section, you know, there's that. And you think, Jesus, when's this rally going to end, you know? But no, Carl's
I didn't know
brilliant.
you'd taken Terry on a rally.
I mean, I'm not speaking ill of Patrick. Patrick Walsh is a brilliant co-driver. but he is so boring on a road section. It's untrue, you know. It's just like, what are you doing this weekend, Patrick? Nothing. Whereas Carl's always got something up his sleeve, you know. He's always got a story.
He's probably got 3 other events on that weekend.
Yeah. But Carl's story's a good one in that he did all this interview procedure to get to sit with Latvala, and they were rallying every week. On a Saturday they rally a single venue in south of England or something, jump on a plane, go to Italy, hire a car and go and do a rally in Italy with Latvala. And then they had a big crash on the Jim Clark rally. He broke all the side of his body and got dumped really. So if they hadn't have had that crash, he'd probably still be with Latvala.
Still crashing.
And still crashing. Yeah, but he's good, and you know, with a co-driver you need somebody that's good fun and they can manage the situation, manage the driver and all that sort of thing. And it's the only thing I can say about being in a car with Carl, it's like being in a car with One Direction. All the women fancy it. And it's just good fun. You know, he's a brilliant laugh, and he's a rally enthusiast through and through. You know, he lives, breathes everything for it. You know, he loves it.
So Carl's your number one.
Yeah, Carl's favourite.
So who's number 2 then?
Well, I've had a good time with Paul Swinscoe.
You mean Milf?
Milf, yeah. Paul's really good in the car. It's no hassle. In fact, I once took Janice Moore in the car with me. We didn't last very long because the car broke, but she was good. Maybe I should go with more women. I don't know. But,
No, it won't work at all. Believe me.
No. The young lad I've got for Monaghan and Manx Nationals, Jack Morton.
Have you pinched him off Damien?
No, they had a fall down. He's excellent. He's really good. Weighs about 8 stone wet through. So yeah, he's very good. But there's a lot of good co-drivers. Elliot Edmondson's very good. Sits in with Neil Simpson. Some really good ones. Yeah. So, but I have to say Carl's my favourite because if I didn't, he would have me guts for garters. So
I'll tell him tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll tell him.
What's your favourite stage, John?
Favourite stage, I would say, is probably a few on the Isle of Man. The one that they're running this year, actually, where they use the uphill hairpin. Go over to where Druidale is, and then over the reservoirs. Brandywell, yeah.
Druidale and then down to Ingerbrecht.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. Some of the stages in Wexford in Ireland are just incredible, and Monaghan that we're doing this weekend. You know, the Manx Rally is really fast, isn't it? You know, it's incredibly fast, but Monaghan is just absolutely mental. I mean, it's 6 gear everywhere. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how they get away with it with the speed, but I drove my heart out last year, the best I've ever driven, and I got 18th. They're just absolute nutters. And we're going back. So yeah,
It's a bit addictive in Irish rallying, isn't it?
Yeah. I drove Knockalla the other week, which is a stage on Donegal, and that is some stage. That's you go along the coast, then turn off inland for 7 miles, come back out onto the coast, and that is really fast. So, but I do enjoy the Isle of Man. There's a couple on Jim Clark which are great, you know.
Have you ever been to Europe or have you ever done Mull?
No, do you know, I've been up to Mull to do gravel notes with John Cope, and it frightened me to blooming death. I was in an old Mercedes with John's brother, Tony, and
It's enough to put anybody.
It's enough to put anybody off, yeah. But no, I thought fair play to anybody that does that. That's a serious challenge, and I think I probably will end up doing Mull at some point, but it won't be in a big car.
What about you?
You want to borrow me proto?
For Belgium or
Do you know what? I've never really fancied it. I'm sort of a big believer in doing things that, you know, in a certain sort of way, really. Sort of trying to do your best at a certain thing, and then move on, and try and achieve that, and then move on. And the Irish thing is it's bugging me. I need to do well over there, and I know you know you can, you know, because every now and again you put a decent stage time in, and you just keep chipping away at it. Yeah, I mean, some of the lads I know Andy Fennick really well, and he goes over to France and Belgium, and he loves it. He's like a superstar over there. And pictures of him up in windows, but he's another one. He's like a magnet for women, you know. He's one of them, you know. So he loves it. But no, the Irish thing really appeals to me. I feel really comfortable when I get there, you know. Step off the plane, and it's just a nice feeling, you know.
Have you ever done West Cork?
No.
That's phenomenal.
I think we'll be doing that next year.
It's a bit like Mull on Ireland.
Yeah.
No, it's really. It's a long while since I've been, but I really enjoyed it the last few times out. It's not maybe quite as fast. It's more technical, but just phenomenal people.
Yeah, we did Circuits at Kerry a few years ago, and that was superb, absolutely brilliant. We've done quite a few over there now, and you know, I do feel comfortable. It's usually wet, but the stages are fantastic. They really are, and you get plenty of time to recce them. You get 3 passes. You're only allowed 3 passes, and by the time that you've gone over it the 3rd time, you know, you're fairly moving. Yeah.
You know where you're going.
You know where you're going.
Have we got any more questions?
If you were starting back where you did, what career path would you choose?
Had I gone to BTRDA gravel, because I think when the BTRDA lads, or the Ancro lads, used to come to the Manx National, they would obliterate the tarmac lads, and I think it just gives you that extra car control. You know, I mean, absolutely obliterated. You know, the John Prices and Steve Flex, and you know, which, you know, they're fast lads. You know, and to do that in the cars that they had were, you know, it's quite impressive. So I think, you know, Tommy's path's a good one to take.
But you've not fancied, even with the revival of BRC, you don't fancy tackling that?
Well, it's like, you know, I mean, some of the lads, I was speaking to some of the lads, they were away for 9 days. Yeah. You know, I just can't, you know, if I'm away for an hour from work, all hell hits the fan, you know, it's a nightmare. So the Irish thing really is good, you know. We're flying Friday night, and I'll be home for probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock Sunday night. So no hassle at work. You know, on the Manx National, when you're wrecking on the Thursday and the Friday morning, so waiting for the phone to go off from work, you know, so it's not until sort of 4:30 or 5 o'clock on Friday night that you know the phone's not going to ring from work.
Just leave your phone at rally office, ideal answer your phone.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, you've got to fit it in.
You might not have a business left.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Right, I'm going to ask you one controversial now. Tyres.
Yeah.
Back years ago, tyres were like round things that you stuck on. Now it seems to be getting more and more important that you've got the absolute latest rubber, and it's all brand new and not more than a few months old and all the rest of it. How do you find with tyres?
Well, the trouble is that there's always somebody spending shed loads on tyres. You know, a Michelin is, you know, including that's £300 a tyre. And you know, the likes of Damien Cole and Steve Simpson, they'll use 2 sets in a rally. And you know, to realistically try and keep with them, you've got to do that. The Michelin ones, the interesting one at the moment, they brought this new compound out, which is a mixture of a compound, and it is fantastic. Even in the wet with a slick tanker, it's awesome. It's fantastic. But we switched to Michelin years ago, and it is a fantastic tyre. They will last longer, but the performance edge goes off. And like we were at Anglesey the other week, and we had a part 1 set on to start with, and we put a new set on halfway through, and we started just chipping away, closer to the Darien than we were, because we'd obviously switched to a set of new tyres before he had. He switched to a new set and he just pulled that. So it's a massive performance difference, unfortunately.
So you've got to stay with the.
You have. The.
We tried the new D-Max, yeah?
I tried D-Max, yeah, and they were okay, but they're nowhere near the Michelin. I think you're probably talking 2 seconds a mile.
2 seconds a mile? Yeah. Jesus, that's night and day. I know many years ago I used to do a lot of work with Vauxhall, and I was lucky enough to get some tyres that they'd given to Brian Wiggins for his car, which were development tyres from Monte Carlo, and they were phenomenal. And I was distraught when they were bought, but I used them as far as I could. Yeah. But even then, I could tell the difference in the rubber was just so. But to be fair, I don't think I've ever felt anything like that since. No. And you've got to be spending like £300 of covers.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, the good thing about Michelin is that they are saleable. If you use them once to get the performance out of them, you can always sell them on and get reasonable money for it. So if you're smart enough that way, you can get a bit of money back. But the trouble is, there's always somebody going to be spending more money than you. So it's a sad fact of life, unfortunately. It's very rare that somebody with pure natural talent can come and. The nearest person is Simon Major, in my opinion. I drove his Mark II, and it's absolutely nothing special whatsoever. But when he sits in it, it's special. So he's some driver.
Fair play. Any more questions?
If you could choose a car to do more in now, what would you do?
I'd probably do. If you wanted to try and be competitive, I'd probably take the Fiesta. I mean, it's the handling is super. It really is. But probably, if I was doing it for the first time, I'd probably take a front-wheel drive car. The 206. Bruce Lindsay built that, I think, and I think he had that. He managed to get it round. So
don't use a Peugeot, they bounce far too bad at back.
So yeah, maybe a Mitsubishi or something like that. I don't know.
You've never been down the Japanese route, have you?
I borrowed one.
I suppose you did. You had a Subaru, didn't you?
Yeah, I had the Subaru.
Well, I suppose that wasn't a Japanese Subaru.
No,
it was a Banbury Subaru.
Yeah. But, no, I borrowed a Group N Evo once, but it wasn't really a proper one. It was road brakes on it and all that sort of thing. So, no, the best car I think I've ever driven is the Fiesta World car, and that was just something else. But it should be 450 grand.
So you never thought that was remotely a budget that you could consider?
No, I couldn't. You'd be frightened to death. I mean, even in the Skoda, you'd be going down and you'd be thinking, Jesus Christ, if I put this off, this is like 50 grand a year. Or, the gearbox casings are just ridiculous. I mean, you're frightened to death of breaking something really, and it's always in the back of your mind. As much as M Sport get a bad reputation for prices and everything, I've found them to be reasonably good. A drive shaft for a Super 2000 is not that expensive really, to say it's a proper thing. It's,
take the punishment.
They take the punishment, yeah. And everything they've got in stock. It's great.
It can't be really good having a rally car if you're scared to.
No, it can't.
If you're scared to push it to its limits, then it's not. Especially at stage, maybe road rally, obviously you've got road balls and everything else to.
Yeah, it's always on your mind. I mean, even people like Damien Cole, who or Steve Simpson. They're incredibly wealthy people.
Yeah.
But Damien Cole, it's on his mind. There's no two ways about
You
it.
can never go to your full limit, can you?
No, I don't think so. And that's why people like Elfin Hands and you see them, they're not bothered, are they? If they roll it into a bowl, they're not bothered. It's somebody will pick the bill up.
But strangely enough, he came to the ANCC presentation, and I had probably 3/4 of an hour to talk to him at the start before everybody turned up. And not only was he frightened to death to sit in front of this many people and talk, but he was so frank about how really he's so much pressure, not only from Malcolm, whose car it was, and and his backers and all the rest of it, but also from his dad, who gave him such a kicking about anything he ever did wrong. So it's absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be fair, we gave him a fair chunk of money, not as a as a wage for coming, but as a contribution towards his keeping rallying this year. Because it is that tight, and although he's 3 levels above anybody here, he's still struggling just the same way that we all are.
And if he's second on course,
Yeah. But it is a good point. You sat there on the start line, with a score, you sit there, put it in first gear, pull the handbrake back, foot flat to the floor, take your foot off the clutch, just wait till you want to go, let the handbrake go and it's off, and you can program it to change the first 3 gears if you want, and it's just incredible feeling, but very temperamental. The clutch is 4,000 quid, and you'd have 2, because once they wear down you can re-shim them, but you can't re-shim them fast enough, so you just take that off, put the new one on. Oh, there's 4,000 quid. It just...
It's about 20 minutes to change it as well, isn't it?
Well, it's nothing. It's not even that. Minutes. It's like that. So that is on your mind, and it becomes unpleasant.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You're better off having a car, I suppose, that's worth a little bit less that you can deal with.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, you're happy enough to fix it.
That's right. Yeah.
I suppose that's something you've said all the way along, isn't it? You've wanted a car that you could look after yourself rather than having to have somebody else look after it.
Yeah. I mean, had some brilliant laughs with the lads that I've looked at. We've had CA1 Sport, Martin Wilkinson and Buckley's, up in Scotland, and they do a great job, but they know how to charge for it. There's 4 people minimum to look after the Skoda on an event, so it's 2 rooms minimum. They all need feeding. They've got to get to and from events. It's a financial challenge.
More stress around every event.
Yeah. It is. It's even more stressful when the taxman turns up at your factory and he has a big clipboard like this, a big file, and he plonks it on your desk and opens it up, and there's a lovely picture of a Hyundai jumping over a Epping, and then there's a Metro 604, and then he just closes it and doesn't say anything. That's when it becomes stressful.
He says that works fans have been using a lot of tyres this year.
Especially 300 quid a tyre.
That's it. That body shop's taking some grief, But no, it becomes...
Have you not seen the advertising? It works, doesn't it?
Well, it does actually. We do a heck of a lot of business in all parts of the place, and it's very rare that we don't go a day where somebody hasn't gone into a retailer somewhere in the country and said, "Well, I'm into rallying, I know Legend Fires and all that sort of thing." So yes, it does. It does work, and the social media side of it as well. People are more likely to buy your product if they understand, social media and follow you on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. So it all helps.
Has anybody got a last question? No. Well, John, thank you very much. I think I've known you as long as you've been rallying this time, and there's a lot of things come out tonight that I didn't know about. I think everybody will agree that it's been a really interesting night, and I'd like to thank you very much for coming. And I will put you behind John Indri. I will put you behind John Indri on the mics, and I will ring him tomorrow and tell him that you've asked to be behind him. And wish you the best of luck on the Isle of Man and in Ireland this week. All the best.
Cheers.
Reminder, next week is the rally catch-up. And I forgot to mention earlier on, but John would just like to have a little plug for his event, which is coming up.
Quick commercial break. What we might not quite say is the sublime to the ridiculous, but
Get in front of the camera, John.
Oh yeah, come behind, come and stand here. You might as well get your plug in Australia as well.
Serious problem, isn't it?
We do have one. I'll mention you now, Mark. We do have one Australian viewer who regularly logs on to see what's going on. Mark Wagstaff.
Fantastic. I didn't know Clitheroe was that well represented. Yeah. Thank you very much. Very interesting. The event I'm going to talk about is very slow. It's to start off for navigators. Take up the challenge of the Fellsman Classic Tour. It's on the 21st of May, which is a Saturday. It's basically an introduction event for navigators based on the sort of things that you get on historic rallies, to be honest. But as you heard from Martin the other day, that is getting a bit more serious nowadays. So I've got one set of regs here, the others that I brought seem to be taken. Anybody interested can have this one. You can then get further copies if you Google Lancashire Automobile Club. It comes up Fellsman Classic Tour, and you can print yourself off some regs and entry form. Any questions at all? Right, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Finally, last thing I'm going to mention tonight is our guest the other week, who was telling us all about how he'd won the jog. Martin Taylor, member of a rival club, dare I say, Kirby Lonsdale. Was out this weekend or last weekend, sorry, on the Flying Scotsman, and managed to win it. He's getting a bit of a reputation for himself. I also had a note from him today saying that in let me get this right, beginning of August, no, end of August, he's running no, it's not even August, it's October. The week before Mull, he's running the Devil's Own, and he's desperate for marshals. So if anybody is available to marshal on the Devil's Own, which is, I think it's the 8th of October, he's getting his bidding now. Please go on and give him a help. Thank you all, and we'll see you again next week.